One of my favorite daily routines these days has been to come home from class. I have almost all morning classes this semester, so imagine it's about 1 p.m. I heat up some food for lunch, I put on a podcast to enjoy while I eat, then I go make myself an iced coffee, lots of ice, maybe grab a piece of chocolate, I get my Kindle, I go sit on the couch, and then I just read and relax alone, all by myself. No other human beings in the immediate vicinity. This is the first time that I'm truly living alone. My entire life I've lived with my family, and then when I started college, I lived in a student residence for the first year. I did have a single room, so it was like a room with an attached bathroom, but then it had shared common areas and I had all my meals in the cafeteria. So this is the first true 100% living alone experience for me. So I wasn't sure if I would enjoy living alone, but I figured this is an experiment. Let's just give it a try for a year. And then if I end up not liking being alone, I can always find roommates for when I move to Madrid next year. That will not be happening. I have decided that I once again want to live alone. I just feel like now that I've gotten a taste of it, I can't really go back. So let me start with the perks of living alone, of which there are so many. Location change. She said production quality. So the first perk is that because this is a 1-bedroom apartment, the bedroom is solely for sleeping. My entire life, I've had my workspace and my sleeping space in the same area, especially in my residence room. My desk was literally attached to my bed, facing the bed. So there was no separation. It was not great for productivity. Now, however, it is so nice to have all of my nighttime activities in one place and then all of my daytime activities like working or reading or watching TV in the living room, where I know that no one else will ever be. I get to work out in my living room so I can get by without a gym membership. I can play music at all times of day as loud as I want, obviously as long as it doesn't bother my upstairs neighbors, but they are very tolerant, so it's all good. Cooking is so simple. There's no splitting of grocery bills or sharing refrigerator space. I am solely responsible for cleaning, so I don't have to divide up the work with anyone or get annoyed with someone for not cleaning the right way, because I always clean the right way. I don't have to escape to a library or a coffee shop to do work because I can have perfect silence and zero interruptions whenever I want right here at home. And I just have the time and space to focus on myself and grow as a person. So after living by myself for 5 months now, I have some advice to share. First of all, enjoy the experience to its fullest. So I don't know if you've seen these TikToks that are like, point of view, you remember that you have free will. And then it'll be someone like throwing an egg at a kitchen cabinet just because they can, just because they remember that they can do whatever they want. So a while back, I had washed my sheets, but I did not feel like putting them back on the bed. It was too late and I was too tired. So I was like, you know what? I'll just do it tomorrow. Tonight, I'm gonna sleep on the couch. And it was so fun. It felt like a little sleepover, a little adventure. And all I did was just sleep in a different part of my apartment. And it made me realize, like, I live alone here. I can do absolutely whatever I want. I could sleep on the floor. I could build a pillow fort in the living room and sleep there. So just take advantage of that. Secondly, try new things. So I very often forget how freeing it is to be alone until there are other people in my space. So when I'm alone, I love experimenting in the kitchen and trying new recipes, but then I'll have people over and they're watching me cook and I'm suddenly like, are they gonna judge how I cook rice or how I organize my utensil drawer or how I arrange my spices? Like, all these little insecurities just bubble up out of nowhere. One of my friends who also lives alone this year told me that she feels like she has a lot more freedom to express herself now. So she can be at home and she can sing and dance and play guitar. Whereas last year when she had roommates, she could still do those things, but like she would try to sing quietly so that her roommates wouldn't hear her. So living alone is a great opportunity to try new things and build new skills in like the comfort and privacy of your own space. Which brings me to thanking Lingoda for sponsoring this video. Lingoda offers online language learning classes for learning Spanish, French, German, or English. They are live one-on-one or small group classes with a tutor who is a native level speaker of that language. They really challenge you to speak in your target language from the very beginning, which is the best way to learn a language because you have to start making mistakes and failing in order to grow. And like, I know my friends would not judge me if I made mistakes when trying to introduce myself in a new language, but I would just prefer if no one heard me struggle. So because I live alone, it's so nice to just be able to set myself up in the living room. I can talk as loudly as I want. No one's gonna hear me, no one's gonna judge me, except maybe my upstairs neighbors, but we don't really talk, so it's okay. If you really wanna commit, you can join a language learning sprint where if you take 30 classes per month for 2 months, you get 100% cash back at the end, or you can do 15 classes per month for 2 months for 50% cash back. So you can literally take language classes for free if you stick with it. So you can use my code BLISS2023 or the link in the description to get 20 euros or $25 US off your sprint registration. So my third piece of advice is to keep your space tidy by sticking to a weekly cleaning schedule. So the great thing about living alone is that no one will ever complain about your messiness. But then the downside of that is that there is no accountability. So if you want to live in a dump, you can do that. But you probably don't want to, so try to stick to some sort of a daily and a weekly cleaning routine so that not only do you feel comfortable in your own space, but you can also invite people over whenever without having to stress about it. So for me, as an example, I almost always wash the dishes before going to bed each night. The dopamine boost that I get when I walk into the kitchen in the morning to make breakfast and the kitchen is just perfectly clean is insane. And then on a weekly basis, I have a whole routine of dusting all the surfaces, sweeping the floors, changing the sheets, cleaning the bathroom, etc. It takes me about 2 hours each Sunday to do, but it leaves me feeling like a whole new person afterwards. So then once you've cleaned, you can invite people over. I really want to emphasize that living alone does not mean that you are always alone. It just means that you get to decide when and exactly how you invite people into your space. So again, you have to use your free will to take initiative and organize things. A simple little dinner party always works. You could organize a game night or a holiday party or like a book exchange party. That's something I've been wanting to do. Just get creative with it. Number 5, do your best to stay in touch with friends and family, especially if you are as far away from them as I am right now. So I call my family almost every day, sometimes when I'm running errands or going for a walk, sometimes if I'm cleaning, like washing the dishes or something. I got very used to them always being around back when I lived back home, and so now that there are 4,000 miles separating us, it's very nice to still sort of feel their presence at home through these regular calls. And finally, my last piece of advice is to create your own background noise. So especially if you're someone who really likes having sound in the background or just activity going on around you, there are ways to sort of replicate that even if you live alone. I really like putting on like background music, ambient noise type YouTube videos. Like there are ones that replicate being in a coffee shop. I found this really cool like Lord of the Rings ambient soundtrack type thing that is such a vibe. I've also been listening to so many podcasts, just devouring them when I'm cooking, eating, cleaning, washing dishes, walking outside, any spare moment of my day. It's like being part of a conversation but with zero effort on your part. So I think it is the ideal introvert pastime. To close out the video, I want to offer, I don't want to say a warning because that sounds negative, but like a little something to be aware of. It does sometimes get lonely living alone. That's kind of the trade-off for all of the perks and the freedom that you get. So for me, I tend to feel a bit down on the weekends just because during the week there are so many classes to go to, so many things on the schedule, booked and busy, and then you get to the weekend, especially Sunday, like you wake up Sunday morning and it's just quiet, and sometimes your motivation just drains because of that. So to counteract that, I have to make sure that I have some plans in place in advance for the weekend to make sure that I actually leave my apartment. And it always is your responsibility to make sure that you're socializing and that you're going out in the world and doing things, but that responsibility is even more important when you're living alone. You have to create plans for yourself, you have to create some structure for yourself. At the end of the day, sometimes I just have to be aware of when I'm becoming a little too comfortable or a little lazy, and force myself to go out and do stuff and say yes to plans. Sometimes it doesn't work out and I come home feeling drained, but other times it goes amazingly and I feel super connected with people. It's really hard to predict, at least for me, how a social event will go. So sometimes you just have to try, and each time you learn a little bit more about what kinds of activities you like and that fill you with energy, and what types of people fill you with energy. That's exactly the thing about living alone, is it gives you mental space to get to know yourself and think, and as an introvert to recharge your batteries and to decide when and how you want to socialize. So basically, to conclude this video, I would give living alone a solid 5 stars. I don't recommend it for everyone, but for people like me at least, it's the best thing in the world.